Hi everyone, it's K-Red, and welcome back to the third and final part of this project where we will conclude this random doodle page. I've had a lot of fun working through patterns, trying to make them look the best that we can. I hope you'll enjoy today as we finish up with some shading. So without any further delay, let's get started right where we left off.
Now, little baby square. What should we do in the little baby square? So many different things we have done. So what if we go back to our 5 and we give ourselves, actually let's do this square here. For what I'm thinking of, I was thinking of just giving myself a circle and then making it another flower. We have a flower there, let's do another flower. Probably should turn my paper on that one so I could have a little bit of a better leaf, but it's okay that it has some variety. And then on this one, let's make it different. Let's do kind of like a little heart leaf in the middle. Once again, I have no idea where I'm going. I may end up thinking that I've just ruined it, because that's what my internal voice is telling me, that you've just ruined it. I just wanted something a little bit different. So then from this one to this, let's go ahead and do another. Our flower shape back with our little hearts in the middle. We'll just continue filling this with leaves until we are off the paper. Let's see, on here, what do we want? Let's do one that goes like that. Oops, don't lay like that too much. Do one that goes like that. And the bottom like that. So now we had to decide, do we want just to fill in the very back of that black? I think I do. I'm going to go back to my little bit thicker pen. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper to go underneath it, just so I don't mark on my table. I had that little leaf here that I didn't really like how it turned out. I'm going to cover it up and just let the black in the background continue there. Clean that up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and let that come to a bit more of a point as well. So I just like the way that looks a little bit better. Let's go ahead and go back to our 03 pen. Let's do some things like some lines. Right at the base. Kind of taller in the center. These you wouldn't see very much because the heart's right there. Just a little bit of lines coming out. Just kind of like that. We can put some here. Down there. It's about the only place I see where those would work. We'll do some other shadings on these. We'll leave that there. Now we're to the little baby spot. What should we do in the baby spot? How about we use something like this? Let's do big triangles. Not really following much of a rhythm. That was with our 8 pins. Now we're going to go back to our 3 pin, taking a big breath. I'm going to work on making some nice thin lines. These will look best when you take your time and go nice and slow. Don't forget to breathe. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the lines this direction, following the outline. Okay, and that will go and look just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and go back with my 8 and do this line one more time. I do like it to be dark, but we'll get a lot of bang for our buck out of the shading. There we go. Alrighty, so we have really officially won. I still have this center that I'm looking at. Not sure what I want to do with that. Not real sure that this is done. This and that, we're still playing in my mind. So I guess we can get rid of this paper now. We're not doing anything on the edges right now. So as I look at it, because that's, as I add in one piece and I go to the next section, I look at it. I'm still enjoying this. I wish I'd done a little bit better job right in here. Made those just a little bit thinner. So I'm going to go ahead and go back with my 1 pin, which this is often a mistake, so you may not want to copy me on this. But I'm going to put a thin line right in between some of the thicker ones. Just want to deceive the eye into thinking that was done a little bit better than it was. I'm going to do the same thing here. In a way that there's too big of a gap. And you'll get the best results if you do it sparingly, not too much, and with a thinner pin than you did it the first time, so it can hide and blend just a little bit better. I think I'm going to make myself stop before I mess it up. But I do, especially with the shading, I like that better. I don't feel like I have that big blob of white that I'd had before. So back to thinking about this area. What to do, what to do. So let's go ahead and do some more squares, something with a grid. This time I am going to do the grid in pencil, and I'm going to do it smaller. You do it in pencil first. You always have the option of coming back with pen if you decide you want the lines, but you also have the option of leaving the lines completely off or erasing them so you don't have the lines at all. And I'm going all the way along this outside as well. I get down to these little areas, for here is a little bit easier because I could line it up on the edge and then I line down each one. As you get less of a line, it's harder to know you're straight. So I'm lining this pink line up on the bottom, the line that I'm using for my spacing on there, and then that way I'm able to still keep them relatively straight. I am not really a detail on a lot of it, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So then I decide, do I want to do something with just rows, or do I want it to actually be a square? We did this already, that was like a row. You could do a checkerboard. I do always like a good checkerboard. What if we just did something crazy? I have no idea how this is going to work, so I'm hoping this isn't messing up. But what if... So I'm just giving myself one to start with. And let's go thicker so that they're not exactly all so small. Lining the line up on the pink line so that hopefully they'll go roughly the same angle. Turn the paper so I can just easily remember what I had done before. And now we're going to have a different little shape. And maybe something different will come to me on how I want to fill that shape. Maybe not. And I'm not real sure how well it's going to work with this bigger diamond shapes over here, but we'll see. So basically we have 1, 2, 3 lines in between each diagonal. I was thinking I do wish those lines were in pen. Let's see where we end up. Let's use an 03 pen, and let's start with, depending on how you're looking at it, we're doing a diamond in the middle. Maybe they say depending on how you look at it, because if we draw them this way, they're a square. And the way I was looking at it before, it was a diamond. To me, it's easier to draw the diamond and to see it. And then I'll go back over it as a square to help my lines a little bit. But I have every intention of filling these in and having them be nice and black and bold rows of diamonds. I would love to know how you decide what to draw. I was watching an old Zentangle video. I think it was an old video. Maybe it was a new one. I can't remember the date on the video, but I watched it just recently. And it talked about how in the original Zentangle, they talked about a dice. You could roll the dice and then draw whatever came up on the dice. So now, what to do for these over here? We may end up just coloring those in and doing a nice thick line that covers that all, because I don't know. Let's see, how would this have worked? Triangle would probably be there, probably be there, probably be there. Not sure how that's going to work. So let's go to a little bit of a thicker pen. I'm actually going to go to a 1. And I'm going to turn it so that I can see it as a square. I'm going to fill it in. Now there's nothing that says you could not, from the beginning, just done this square. for some reason today, my eyes were seeing a diamond, and then I could turn it and see the square. Let's go ahead and listen to some music as I fill in some squares. And see how I did that quite a bit different than what was drawn. Felt like I squared it up a lot more. So then let's go ahead and go back to the 3. Let's give ourselves a squirrel. Swirl, not a squirrel. Notice that we have a lot of the same feel to these items, the circles, the swirls, the dots, the squares. And yet they're all just a little bit different, used a little bit different, put together on the paper. And on that one, since it's the end, I just did little half circles. I think I am going to color that all in, so let's go ahead and do that. Back to my 1 pen. Let's actually just cut this whole corner. And I know we're dealing into that 5 a little bit. That's all right. We did the same thing in other places. That's just kind of the way these work. And then we're going to darken in this outside line that I made. And we'll do it right up to this one. Fill that all in. Now what I'm considering, just so you all know what my thought process, is it going around the whole page and just having kind of a black border around the whole page. So let's go ahead and do that. Even like I said, when it builds into the picture a little bit, that's just fine. And if you wanted to have a stronger edge, we can do it right up against a ruler. And I don't mind, I like the edge being straight, but I don't want it to be, I want it to have some variance in width. So you go around just like that. And we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing here. I'm writing on my ruler, which is pretty normal for me. And this one's not quite dark enough for me, so I'm going to go up just a little bit higher. And fill in a little bit more. Just like that. Just kind of framing the whole picture. And I'm only going to do up here, up into the circles, because I think we pretty much have that covered. Yeah. Got all pretty much covered. And then the only really thing would be just down here, just a tad. So we'll go just like this. Just on our flower. What do you think? Like that whole black edge? I do. See that white right there? Let's take care of that real quick. There we go. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. So we're going to give this a second to dry before we do it. Not liking that I don't have a good string between here. So we're going to go up And I don't really want to go into my 5 any because I think that's a pretty delicate pattern to go into. So I'm going to make sure that I'm following that 5. I'm going way up into the design above it. So I can have a little bit of a better definition around that string. And once I've done that, I can come in and I can level it out some. So it doesn't look just like a thicker borderline, but it actually looks like I'm making a definition change between the two. Similar to this line, I wanted this to look the same way. So over here, we're cutting in on this side so it can look more like that. We're going to cut in quite a bit here and give it a really good, so it's like those are continuing. But along this edge, I tried hard. I didn't do perfect, but I tried hard along this edge to not ruin my take 5 shape. All right, so now we have that same thing right in here. I'm not real thrilled with these lines, and they're not as dark as I would like, so we're going to add some right in there. And do the exact same thing on these little circles. We're going to make the line on the circle as best as we can, and then we'll fill in the difference. I am personally a fan of doing these thicker lines after you've done the drawings, because it doesn't hurt anything to go over the drawing that you've already done. It definitely means that it blends in right, it works out well. So let's go ahead and give these a thick on the bottom, then they can thin out, and we'll go a thicker up here. You know, that one little space is getting down to almost nothing, isn't it? Right in there, getting just a little bit of a peep show. I'm going to do the same thing here. You have some nice thick bold lines. Go right up to that. Just like that. Kind of just giving yourself a tail on the top. So see how nice and bold that is? It's completely changed, really, the way this whole thing looks. What I'll try to do in post-production is I'll try to put up 2 pictures so you can see before the thick lines and after the thick lines, and you can really see the difference that it makes. I'm happy with this, the way it's looking at the moment. Grab my eraser and get rid of these lines. May have pressed a little hard, so there may be just a little bit of a shadow on them, but I'm going to be okay with that. Come in with my pen real quick while I see it, and I did kind of a sharp line there, but nowhere else did I do a sharp line, so we're just going to go ahead and add a bit of a curve to that so that it's not so sharp. Okay. Now, what do you think? You all leave a comment if you have an opinion on it. What should I do in here? It's a trick question. I already know I'm going to do something in there. So if you have, once again, a little bit of a squirrel moment, see how I'm not real happy with that line? It looks a little more curved than I want. With a thin pen, I can just come in and go straight down. Now, obviously, you do this too much, and you're going to become too large, because every time you do it, it gets larger. But you can really come in and clean up if you feel like you want it cleaned up, an edge. I think that helped clean up that one that had caught my eye. It's looking pretty. I have a tendency to not want to do a straight line, but to do curved lines. So, okay. So in here, we've done lots of things. We have the triangles, and we have those. I'm going to go ahead and do just freehand. Some lines coming down. Because the area is so small, it's not hard. And I have a checkerboard now. And that's with a 3 pen. So now I'm going to go all the way down to an 05. Let me find an 05 pen. Or excuse me, not an 05, an 005. The finest I have. And on every other one, I'm going to do just these little hash lines. I've done this on other projects of mine. You've seen it. And it truly is my favorite way to do a checkerboard. I'm get myself a little confused as to what should be done. I think that's that. So then my next question is, see how we did our lines here? Do I want to do that same thing behind the sun? Or do I want to do some dots behind the sun? I think I'm going to try to see if I can get myself, as I do a couple more little dots to fill in some white areas, I think I'm going to try to get myself to like that a little bit more by adding more. My theory is that maybe it won't stand out so much if it's somewhere else on the paper. And I'm doing it with that 005 pen, super tiny pen, and it's just straight up and down. There is a shading term for this. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It'll be just like that. Don't know that's making me like this section anymore, but I do like that. So let's do the same thing behind these. And as everything, well, not everything, but like we almost always try to do, we're working our best to make these dots be random. We're not wanting them in a row. We're not wanting them precise. If we look real close, we could get hypercritical of where the dots are. But when you step back, you hold it out, and you look at it as a whole, I think it works. So the next question, let's switch to an 003 pen. Down here, I want my dark circle in my center. Just kind of goes with everything that we have done on this page, and I would like it to continue. Miss the center of that circle. There we go. Like it. Now the other place I could put dots if I wanted them is behind this flower. And I could put them behind this. So let's put just a few behind this. Now this was that bigger pen. This wasn't the 005. This is an 03, so that's a bit of a mistake, but don't think we'll recognize it too much. But if you do look at the two together, you can see the difference All right, let's do some shading. So I have a 4B, tends to be what I like to shade in. I have an 8B, I have a little bit of a sandpaper pad, some erasers, and I have an HB. Let's just deal with these for now. And let's see, where are we wanting shading? Well, just like anything I'm doing, I try to start with something that's easy. And I know at the base of these, I'm going to want some shading under each one to make it really help that it's looking like it's one on top of another. Using the side of the pencil, and I'm just laying some down, and then I will come back with the blending tool and smooth it all out. So I have this little tiny one that for some reason is what I grabbed, this little tiny one. So we will use that. And I'm kind of using the side of that as well. Now, if I feel like I've gotten a little sloppy on some of these, I can go back and I can add a little bit of eraser where I need to, and just to clean it up a little bit. If I get the opportunity to in post, I'll try to remember as well to maybe do a side-by-side before and after shading as well. So we can kind of see what shading worked, maybe what was either too much or too little. It's one of the unexpected things of these YouTube videos is it's given me a chance to really go back and critique what I've done and say, oh man, you should have done this, or oh man, you missed that. I would never have done that if I was just drawing like I had for the past few years. So it's kind of neat. Let's filter these down just a little bit. I think these might be a little dark, but we'll see once we get more to the end. I don't want to judge yet. What do you think? Clean it up a little bit? That's what I'm thinking. Go ahead and run this on the sandpaper for a second. Just kind of get myself, make sure the end is clean. All I'm doing is cleaning up the spots I'd like white. The art of shading, which I probably will never master, but definitely haven't mastered yet, is that balance between dark and light. Now is this one, or that one I had some left over. So this one I didn't feel like it was as sloppy as that one was. I felt that one had quite a bit of graphite where I didn't want it. But it does feel dark still. But let's, like I said, give it a chance to grow on me. We'll see where that goes. I might end up liking it just fine. I know. I just erased it and now I'm back doing it again. I know. It's a give and take. So now for this, what should I do for this? I think I should probably lay it along the edges. And this one I'm doing more with the tip of the pencil. And just outlining those inner squares of dots. Yeah, definitely still not my favorite on this page. I don't know if I will do it again. But we'll see, maybe. I'm going to go with my pencil, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have any pencil mark down the center of my lines. I don't think I do. But I'm going to want that to have as much light as possible. And I think that's just going to be that. So how should we shade this? Thinking of adding some pencil. What did I pick up? I picked up the 8B and just adding it just the faintest along the outside corner. Now, artists out there, I am sure that I'm doing everything wrong as far as where the light's coming from and how it does, and I could do all that probably much better than I am. And we're going to go ahead and continue this around that so that just the outside is darkened and the inside is there. Now the way I'm going to see what pencil I want. Let's go to the 2B or the HB. We'll do the HB. The way the 5 is that there's just a little bit of graphite, a little bit of pencil. I use those words interchangeable. I wonder if they actually can be, or if there's a difference between graphite and pencil. I'm going to add a little bit there, and then back to my little one, and I'm just going to blend it out. Not filling up that whole, I think I called it a comma space when I did it in my peaceful patterns. Now take 5, this is a peaceful pattern, so if you don't know how to make this one, I may have said this when I worked on it the other day, I can only assume I did, but you can check out my peaceful patterns playlist and you can see the different ones I have gone through. Yeah, I like that. All right, so now our swirls. So we have that dark there. So I think we should probably, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my 8B. I'm going to lay a whole bunch down on that paper. I think I'm still going to use this little guy. I'm going to pick it up so that there's quite a bit on there. And I'm going to go around the insides. And then when I don't have enough on it, I'm just going to go back and get more. To me, this is the easiest way to get an incredibly light shadow without any pencil mark whatsoever. And I'll go along the outside of the big ones. Just kind of encourage our eye to swirl. I'm not so sure about that. We'll see. Now, the way I usually like to do these, I'm going to do it today too, because it's just my favorite way. I love the way it looks, is to add just some dark in the corner. And once again, I do it without an actual pencil, with just the blending stick. It could be a Q-tip, it could be your finger, but I personally don't like to use my finger for that. Just laying down a small curved line in the top of each of them. I'm going to go ahead and add it to the little ones as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add a different tortillon because this one has so much pencil on it. And I don't want to add more, I just want to spread it. So you can have just a bit more shading, a bit more variance light, parts lighter, parts darker. It goes just like that. Kind of the dark side of the moon kind of thing. Now that one I actually missed putting anything on it, but that's okay. Even this new one has plenty on it. Alrighty, so we'll go back to our pretty used up thing. And let's add a little bit of shading on this. We'll come in with this one and spread it out as well. And that area is so small that really I have shaded in the whole thing. This one's a little bit smaller, so we'll do this one. And we're going to erase a line right down the middle. So it'll look like it has some movement. And a little bit in this. Maybe just out like that. I think these are all so tiny. I'm not sure I'm going to get any variance in here. Oh, and look, I just noticed I've done the checkerboard here with the lines. I've done the same thing over here. Told you it was one of my favorites. All right, so we're going to get some more pencil on here. I blew on it just a little bit in case there's any loose graphite on there. And we'll do the same thing on this one where we just do the outside. Then we'll come in with a cleaner one. I'm going to do this side where there's nothing on it. Just let it be a little bit like that. Same thing here. Now these are fun. So for these, we're going to pick one side, whichever side you want. And we're adding it to that side. We want it to be a pretty decent amount. And we are going to want our eraser to come in. So we can have a ray of light. Just like that. I went in and I changed this one. It seems like I should do that line, but it just didn't look right. So I did the top half instead. I think that just looks a little better. Now our pretty little flower. So let's go back to our pencil. And let's add some lines right in the outside of these petals here. Like that. And then this one, we're going to do it with just the spent tortillon. Most of that row will be in black anyway. And we're going to do it just in the middle. What do you think? Let's go to the light side. Blend it all out. And I'm really working it into the paper. And then just a really small amount of cleanup. What do you think? Turned out to be a pretty dark paper. Definitely has enough black on it. You never quite know I never know when I start out. You can always decide to do things a little bit different. And on this one, even though I am talking about how dark it is, I decided that I really need this outside line to be accentuated. So we can just go like that. I wanted it to come up from the white, and the easiest way for it to come up from the white was to make it much darker. I didn't want to add too much more pencil. I'm adding some, but that way it definitely kind of bubbles the flower up and out. So what do you think? Where else do I need it? Where else do I need to blend more? My tortillions are pretty spent, so let's see if I can clean one up a little bit and give me a little bit more of a point. I'm gonna have to Google whether or not this is a right way to do things or not. But because that didn't really have a point on it at all, and now I use this little sandpaper pad, I now have a point on it. And I just wanted a point so I could stretch these out a little bit better. Like that. All right, and I do believe that is the doodle for this week. Parts I love, parts I don't. The story of our life, right? I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so very much. I hope your week is safe, full of joy. And please come back, check out some of my other videos. Thank you again. Bye-bye.